All right, baby. Let's get
Okay.
into some news
Let's do
tonight.
it.
All right, so I think on everybody's mind right now is, of course, what is going on in
How
the
could it
banking.
not be?
So let me read this headline, and then I know you've got some definite things that you want to share from your heart on it, and we want to try to answer as much as we can. We don't claim to be experts.
We need an expert to be in here with us tonight to
We do.
lay it out and
We
be
do.
able to answer some questions. But
Yeah.
we're just going to report the news as we have it. And I'm sure there'll be many more discussions in the upcoming days about it.
Absolutely. So developing, this is trading halted at 30 banks as the market opened up. We'd been following this. We knew that it was going to be a big deal what happened when the markets opened this
Right.
morning. And sure enough, as soon as it happened, trading was halted on 30 banks as the market opened. New York Stock Exchange halts trading at Charles Schwab. Now, we're not going to read into all
But they are listed in this Twitter. And, one of our local banks that we would call local in
Yeah.
our area
Yeah.
is on that list.
Regions
It's a little
Bank.
disturbing.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have said the name. Sorry. But yeah, it is one of our local banks here that's based in Birmingham, and it was on the 30.
Yes.
And we looked at, and it's tiny writing here, but you can see this is the actual ticker from the
Right.
screen of traders.
So in a matter of 20 minutes or so,
Yep.
there was a halt on each one of these. That's what those
Yeah.
timestamps are, halt for each bank for trading for each one of those.
So Market Watch is a very prominent website that traders go to, and Market Watch said to gauge the panic-like activity of bank investors in the wake of recent failures of the SVB financial group and Silicon Bank that we've heard about, it starts showing you all these percentages. So some of these were dropping 50%. I mean, it's just incredible
If
what
you were
happened.
watching this, it must have been very traumatic. I'm glad that, I wasn't aware close to a television or any kind of device where I could sit and just watch this. That would not have been pleasant. So.
No, it would not have been pleasant at all. And let's continue this discussion with, from newspunch.com, Top Silicon. This is a very interesting because nowadays, and this is one of the things we talk about when we talk about the big picture, is you got to be skeptical on everything you hear on the news and the media, and you automatically always say there's more to this story.
Absolutely.
And so let's look.
It's much like they only tell you what they want you to think about.
Right.
And possibly if you can dig, you can find more relevant information. But even in some of the articles that are released, they just gloss over.
Absolutely.
So it's bothersome.
So look at this right here, and this right here will really, I think, begin to paint the picture a little bit bigger than what you're going to hear on the mainstream media. Top Silicon Valley bank executives sold their stocks week before the crash. Now, listen to this, y'all. I want you to understand this is what's being done to you, and this is how the elites work. They have a whole different set of rules for them. Top executive with a Silicon Valley bank sold their shares, listen, just weeks before the quote-unquote collapse. The bank, which was used by numerous startups and tech companies in Silicon Valley, collapsed into the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. It is the largest bank, listen to this, to fail since Washington Mutual fell in the great crash of 2008.
So 15 years ago.
Yeah, which we all remember 2008.
I'd be interested to know, was it around the same time of year? How close is it to the same time of year?
Probably same time of the year.
Happened. Cycles and
Cycles.
all that.
Yep. Two of Silicon Valley Bank chief executives dumped millions of dollars worth of stock.
Right.
Think about this. Just 2 weeks before this week, and just when it collapsed on Friday, the CEO Greg Becker offloaded over $3.5 million worth of stocks, which amounted to nearly 12,500 shares in a pre-planned automated sell-off on February 27th. That same day, the bank's third in command, CFO Daniel Beck, sold $575,180 in stock, Newsweek reported.
And let's just stop. Becker, that was a interesting thing to me. One named Becker,
yeah,
one
that is.
named Beck.
Good catch. I didn't catch that.
Yes.
Becker and Beck. Okay. Silicon Valley Bank, the once leading tech lender, was shut down by federal authorities just 11 days later. Now, it's not in this article, but we know that this is a fact that one of the co-founders of PayPal,
Yes.
what's his name?
Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel. He is a multi-billionaire, and he was in this company as well. And he also sold off all his stock, right? Am I saying that right?
Indeed. And told some of his friends, associates, or whoever these people were to him, gave them a heads up. And of course, they went and took their money out of the bank. Well, by the time he and his associates did that, they were probably just about done. And then whoever came behind them, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was over.
It was over. So that's what I'm talking about is, you just,
Let me add one thing,
Okay.
because I was listening to Charles Payne this morning before I left home, and I enjoy him. I find him very interesting. And he was talking to the two morning hosts on their show. He said, and I quote, "This was not a bailout of the SVB, Silicon Valley Bank. This was a bailout of Silicon Valley."
Think about that.
So he said, yeah, sure, there were some maybe small business owners doing business there, had their money there. But let's face it, folks.
Yep.
We know who's getting the help here.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that, because that is really, in my opinion, the big deal here. And so I'm going to jump over in the order that I was going to do. Let me do something real quick, because I think it's important that we go here, because what you're talking about is what he said was who it's a bailout of.
Right.
And this is something you need to know about the banks that failed. This is the founder of Home Depot. Home Depot founder to the United States says, forget woke, because, the saying is you go woke, you go broke. He said,
I just want to say to him, you know what? We're not woke, but we're certainly awake.
Aha!
Right?
What a great catchphrase. I like that.
Yes. I love this guy.
I do too.
This is my grandpa.
Yeah.
This guy is like 93 years old.
Is he really that old?
He's 13 years older than our president, who is basically 80 years old.
Is that legit? He's really 93?
I believe you read down into this article, and it will say he's 13 years older than the
listen
president.
to what the founder of Home Depot said. Following the second worst bank collapse in American history since Washington Mutual in 2008, with the demise of Silicon Valley Bank, Home Depot co-founder and philanthropist and business philosopher had some recent observations about Joe Biden. There it is, according to Epoch Times. I didn't say it. He said it. He's told Fox News on March 11th, quote, "I can't wait for President Joe Biden to get out on the speech again and talk about how great the economy is."
I love that.
Oh
right
man,
there.
he's just
put it out there, Grandpa.
It's like he's 93. He's like, what have I got to lose?
Right.
I'm just going to tell it like it is.
I'm not holding back anymore.
I'm
I may
not
not be here much longer, so I'm going to say what I have to say.
Exactly. He says, so tell us how great the economy is and how it's moving forward and getting stronger by the day. And this is an indication of whatever he says is not true. And he says the multi-billionaire, who is 13 years older than the 80-year-old Biden, there it is, it says, maybe the American people will finally wake up and understand that we are living in very tough times, that in fact a recession may have already started. Who knows? But it doesn't look good. He goes on to say that he's blaming the administration for pushing banks. This is what we're going to get into deep in just a second. For pushing banks to prioritize diversity and all of the woke issues over shareholder returns, and suggested that a focus on social policies is now causing banks to be badly run and failing to protect their shareholders and their
Can I just
own
say,
employees.
I think it's causing a lot of things
Yeah,
to
it
be
is.
badly run.
It is.
Not just the banks, but in this point, he is on the money.
Yes, he is.
Okay?
Yes, he is.
Let's listen to the sage old wise man in the room.
Yeah.
He's trying to
Yeah.
just say it like it is.
Yes, he is.
But he's helping us out. Hopefully, he's shaking
Yeah.
some people that need to be shaken
Yeah.
to listen to some wisdom. Come on out here. Give me another low inflation report.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead and tell me how good it is, how well off we are.
But here's the thing, man. Hope, stay woke, stay woke. No, these banks are finding out you stay woke, you're going to go broke. And look at here. Daily Wire is reporting that the failed banks are still on the same subject here, were criticized for their hyper focus on woke initiatives and the LGBT activism. Listen to this. Listen, this is a bank, y'all. This is a bank, and this bank just failed. And listen to what they were doing. Failed bank, Silicon Valley Bank, has been hit with accusations that it was hyper-focused on so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and generally managed poorly. A top 20 bank.
Oh, I can see that now.
Yeah.
You had
Yeah.
some poor management going on.
Poor management. Oh, we're going to really show you that in just a second. It's going to blow your mind. It says it relied upon go-to for many tech startups. Collapsed over the course of some 40 hours last week, culminating in the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation closing it on Friday and naming it in the FDIC. Watch this. This bank, quote, this bank, they're so concerned with DEI, which is woke policies, and politics and all kinds of stuff, that I think it really diverted from their focus on their core mission. Do you think so? That's the governor Ron DeSantis says that, running for president probably. But then I want to go down here and read this part right here. It says, the person in charge of risk assessment in the UK allegedly prioritized, quote, pro-diversity initiative while neglecting her actual role. And it goes on to say that her pride is that she's created an inclusive workplace that expands opportunities for everyone, benefits from a diverse workplace, and we aim to continue to increase diverse representation on all levels.
Well, clearly that's working, and that's the approach that we need to take across the board, right?
This is her bio. Jay Asaroth, Chief Risk Officer. That's the one that's supposed to make sure that nothing like this happens.
Is she the one that went gallivanting?
She's gallivanting, and she describes herself as, quote, a queer person of color from a working class background and organizes LGBTQ initiatives. My God.
You're being too harsh. She was just on a business walkabout, okay?
A business walkabout.
Clearly.
Look, here we go. This is what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Had no head. The bank had no head of risk assessment for how many months?
9 months before it collapsed because she was on walkabout. She was gallivanting.
She was gallivanting around the world.
She had something to do. It was important.
She had, listen, this is what she was doing. Instead of, for 9 months, protecting the integrity of a bank and people's investments, she had to go to Europe, Middle East, Africa, and
cut her some slack. She's trying to organize a campaign for a parade and such. And this takes time.
This takes time. A month long pride campaign with Lesbian Visibility Day.
And you know that's going to take some work. You can't just show up and that stuff happens on its own. You got to be gone for 9 months.
Oh, my goodness, y'all.
9.
9 months on a lesbian activity tour while the bank is falling apart. And guess what? But don't worry. President Biden says, we got you. We got you.
On the other hand,
we're going to pay the money.
On the other hand, it almost sounds like a convenient cover story.
I know you would not dare say this could be planned, that this could be rolled out, that this could be a part of Agenda 2030, that this could be a part of the World Economic Forum, that this could be a part of ushering into the digital currency and doing away with paper money. I know, Sandy, you would never insinuate that.
I don't see how those could be linked.
No,
what are you talking
it's impossible. I don't know what I'm thinking. Sometimes my mind. Oh, but wait a minute. You're talking about timing and planning. The night that this all went down, Friday night and Saturday, guess what? The Congress, the House, they all met and they had a secret meeting.
Now, was this the Zoom call or was this an actual meeting?
This was a Zoom call.
Okay.
And there's Democratic senator, a Republican senator actually leaked it out and tweeted it out.
This happened what night?
Well, let's read this.
Okay.
Democratic senator asked about censoring information that would cause bank runs.
Yes.
So
this article.
It was Sunday.
It's so rich. You need to listen and pay attention, people.
I think it happened Saturday night. But
please start over and read that sentence again.
Okay. All right. So listen to this, y'all. Democratic senator asked about censoring information that would cause a bank run. Representative Massey said. Now, who's Representative Massey?
From
Thomas
Kentucky.
Massey is a Republican from Kentucky. He said Sunday that at least one Democratic senator wanted to censor what information is available to the public in the wake of Silicon Valley Bank's collapse last week. In a tweet Sunday, Massey said that an unnamed Democrat senator had asked what options the government has to censor information that could cause a run on the banks. Quote, look, this is the tweet here, the actual tweet.
To not let you guys know what's happening.
Yeah. So
what mechanism can we use to not let this get out over social media?
So if it wasn't for this one representative, leaking this, we wouldn't even know this even happened. But he said, I just got off a Zoom meeting. Look at all the people that was in this Zoom meeting.
Yes.
I just got off a Zoom meeting with the Fed, the Treasury Department, the FDIC, the House, and the Senate.
The House, House Representatives, the Senate, Janet Yellen, Treasury Department, Federal Reserve, FDIC, that wonderful insurance company that's going to take care of everybody.
So they're all talking about what's going on, and some Democrat raises his hand and says, "Can I ask a question?" And they say, "Go ahead." And he says it right there. A Democrat senator essentially asked whether there was a program in place to censor information on social media that could lead to a run on the banks. But
is there a squelch or some kind of button that we can press to deny access to the? we don't know what that is.
That was a record scratch. But wait a minute. Here's the kicker. I haven't even got to the big breaking news part.
Come on.
That was big. But when this happened, Silicon Valley, of course, talks a little bit about the story there, and it says the panic began, blah, 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 and then it goes, where's it at? Okay, yeah. Somebody tweeted back to him, what was their response when this senator asked the government officials, the administration, can we stop this from people knowing?
Yes.
The Democrat senator response to the question was, quote, we will get back to you on that. In other words.
Not emphatic, no.
Exactly.
Not, dude, what? No. What are you talking about? We can't do that.
Let's work on that. That's a good idea. We'll get back to you. And then it goes on to say, Massey also responded to a Twitter user who commented that while they are anti-censorship, quote, spreading unfounded rumors to promote a run on a bank is akin to yelling fire in a crowded theater. They were trying to rebuke him. But he replied, and I love this reply, well, what about yelling fire in a theater that's on fire?
Yeah, it's actually on fire already.
Already on fire.
They've they've ran for the exits, clearly.
That's insane. That's insane that this kind of stuff was happening. Knowing it's going to cost taxpayers billions of dollars. I don't care what they say. It's going to cost taxpayers billions of dollars. We've already given billions of dollars to Ukraine. We've already spread our military thin.
Okay, you just need to back it up. 1 minute.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure I heard the president say today that taxpayers will not shoulder the cost of the SVB failures.
Are you talking about what he read off the teleprompter?
I did.
Oh,
and then
I didn't say that. I'm sorry. Can I delete that?
And then this article goes on to say, instead, and I'm reading some notes that I wrote down because there's so much information that I couldn't possibly process it. Instead, it's going to come from fees paid into the federal insurance fund. So I said to myself, do you mean the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, that can only insure you for up to $250,000?
But wait a minute. He also said, we're going to go above that. We want everyone to know that had their money in this bank, this particular bank, we're going to go above the $250,000. We're going to cover all your money. You're going to lose any of your money.
If you're one of the special people.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you're special.
Because a regular Joe did not bank at that bank. That was a woke bank.
I think there were very few, if any. They were the tech startups and, the tech companies and so forth. And we get it, whatever. But should everyone not be given equal?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Equal coverage here? Now, equal consideration here?
Now, for those who's been watching The Big Picture for a while, you know that we started telling you about ESG a while back. Environment, social, and governance. And this is what really happened here. That's what the founder of Home Depot was talking about. These woke investment firms, of course, BlackRock being at the top of it, and telling everybody, these banks, to have high ESG scores. High ESG scores, which, by the way, this bank, Silicon Valley Bank, had about as high an ESG report as you can have. And that what that is these people rate you based on how much you're involved in social activities, how much you're involved in woke ideas, and so forth.
To break it down, how woke you are.
How woke you are.
The more woke you are, the better off you will be in our eyes. I mean, is what you're essentially saying in simple language. I
want to show a little bit of this video clip here to just remind those that, or maybe introduce those that don't really know what ESG is. Let's see if I can start this right.
Firstly, a bit of a recap. ESG stands for Environmental, Social and Governance, and it defines an investment trend that's been pushed by financial elites since the start of the pandemic. In short, ESG states that environmental, social and governance issues are more important than production output or profits. Logically, this imperative is incompatible with basic economics. Purposely pursuing more expensive energy sources, hiring people based on their personal identity rather than their abilities, and letting governmental and non-governmental organizations make business decisions is a recipe for disaster.
No, that's going to go great when we do that.
Yeah,
that is the perfect plan.
What a great business plan. Hiring people.
It's a great business model. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Forget their abilities and their qualifications.
No.
Do they have, what color is their hair?
Quality control.
Do they have a flag flying from that's different colors? And are they this? Are they that? When's the last time you was on the street holding a sign? That'll check off. Forget the fact that you actually know how to do the job.
Exactly.
And it is a recipe for disaster because, because here's the bottom line, y'all, when it talks about banks, let's don't forget that the money that they are spending is not their money. It's the money that people and businesses have put in the bank.
Maybe we should pause there for a moment and talk about once your money is in the bank, it might not completely be yours anymore.
Exactly.
You may not be completely in control of what happens to it, clearly. So, I don't have a better answer or option, but the one that we're using right now is looking a little sketchy.
Yeah, I don't usually have time to get into the live chat, but I just happened to look up here, and the great points by James Hamilton asking, is this social credit scoring? Yes, it is. This is the fancy word for it.
If it's not, we're definitely on the way to it.
And Billy Mitchell has a great point. I'm going to put it up here. This is the fact that there is actually an ESG stock on the NASDAQ that you can invest in.
I did not know that.
Where you will know that all your investment goes to companies with high ESG ratings. So these banks that failed, these few that failed, and many of the 30 that was put on halt today, most of them have, in fact, I'll just dare say any national bank there is, the national bank. I'm not talking about your local banks. And probably some local banks in some of the more liberal cities. But any national bank that's out there is going to be forced, because of the World Economic Forum, because of BlackRock and so forth, to focus on ESG principles.
In this tough environment and climate, you want to have everything in your favor that you can get. You don't want to not look good in the eyes of those who are regulating you, who may have to come in and help you out. You don't want that. So that just lends more to this monster growing bigger and bigger and bigger.
Absolutely. And you think about, we talk a lot about the long game, the drip, 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 drip. We are now seeing the drip, drip, long game of the initial cancel culture.
We are seeing a culmination of things that we looked at as annoyances in past years of like, we got to deal with that. Well, we should have probably spent a little more time thinking about exactly where this was going, where all of these things were going to truly take us.
Well, the largest ESG company in the world and the most powerful business entity in the history of humanity is an investment company called Blackstone. And it is unbelievable what it has done.
Yes.
And it has just done something that...
They're like the octopus with the tentacles, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
They've gotten them into just about everything.
Yeah, and so here's what blows my mind. This was slipped under the radar. While the yank was going on for the last 2.5 years, and we are all being indoctrinated about the ability to, stick needles in our arms and stuff for various reasons, whether you're putting something in or taking something out. We have seen, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not trying to scare y'all if you've done this, but you do need to know the truth. So there was all of a sudden, not long ago, a few years ago, there began to be this rollout of this technology.
23andMe,
Ancestry.com.
I don't even know what the other names of the other ones are.
And these were, take a little blood, send it to us, let us get your DNA, and then we'll tell you about your ancestors.
Seems so, pretty much safe, and
Yeah.
nobody's thinking about where this could lead. And
Yeah, and they even said things like, we can help you if maybe discover that you've got a propensity for a heart attack. These were just ways for us to help you see. We're going to use your DNA for the good. We're going to help you find your granddaddy, and we're going to find out where you came from. And some of y'all got shocked because some of y'all thought, I'm a white boy, and you found out you came from some brothers, and some brothers found out you came from some white boys.
That's right.
And
That's
you got people because here's the truth Here is the big picture truth. We all got a little bit of everybody of it in us. Come on.
It's just all right.
All right, it's just all right. It's just all right. But I digress. Got a little rabbit trail there. Can I get somebody shout me name in? Because I'm going to show you something.
Let's roll back a little bit. So people are paying for this service,
Yep.
and having this kind of thing done, and they're probably not stopping to think about the fact that these companies, whoever they are, they're holding on to that information.
Yeah.
You paid for it. You got your report back, but they have it as well.
Yep.
They didn't erase it. Not that anybody would ever think of erasing that kind of important information and dumping it, or that you could, or how hard is that to do? But no, of course they still have it.
Yep.
What is one of the most valuable commodities out there today? Information.
And ladies and gentlemen, the largest, richest, wealthiest company in the history of humanity.
Now it's going to get their hands on it, or already has their hands on it. I don't know which one it is.
This was a year and a half ago when this happened.
So they already have had ownership for a year and a half.
They began the process. Don't know if it's fully finalized, but I think it is. Blackstone has bought Ancestry.com. During the whack, while everybody was distracted, they came in and bought Ancestry.com for $4.7 billion. Listen to this, because think about it. Giving an investment firm total ownership of all the DNA of every person who has ever used the service.
And what does an investment firm especially want to do? They want to turn things over to make more money, and they don't mind selling you off to the highest bidder, I'm sure.
Exactly. And they were promised. Everybody at Ancestry.com was promised, don't worry, this will never be used for profit. But Blackstone...
Well, as long as the other guys had it, they could possibly hold up to that promise. But these people didn't make that promise.
Yeah, look at this.
Blackstone didn't make that promise.
In case you're unfamiliar with the services it offers, Ancestry.com allows customers to not only trace their genealogy, but also identify specific genetic health risks using testing kits. And then it says, Blackstone's hope is that because of the more customers will stay home and use Ancestry.com's services, generating more profits for the investment firm. And then I'm going to show you this right here. This is from the Los Angeles Times. This was an article that just came out last year, I believe it was. Says why, this is an opinion column, but this is from the Los Angeles Times. This is not from a conservative place.
No,
this is liberal.
It's curious that they would put this question out there, not being conservative.
Right. So the column is, and this is an opinion piece, but it makes a good point. Why spend billions for Ancestry's DNA data if you don't plan to use it?
But again, did Blackstone ever say that they never plan to use it?
Nope. They do say that in this article. They do say, don't worry about it. This was just an investment. I'll just read it to you.
Well, you know what would be terrible? If they had one of those hacks. Those hacks are just so inconvenient.
Oh, yeah,
They're
inconvenient.
so inconvenient.
And it's so really easy to say, we didn't do it. We got hacked. We got hacked. So what does Blackstone plan to do with the treasure trove of genetic data, which is highly sought after by drug companies, insurance firms, employers, and others? I don't believe for a second that Blackstone bought Ancestry simply because they love people, this person says. You don't spend $4.7 billion unless you have a plan to make it back and more. Now, why are we talking about this? Because when you're talking about what happened with the banks, the same thing that was going on behind the scenes, manipulating your money for woke issues and all this, you have the powerful elite that are getting in line to not just buy a company, but to buy you, because your DNA is specific to only you. So when they own your DNA, well, you know what? Instead of me saying it, Sandy.
Oh, let's go to our friend.
Let's go to our friend.
Yuval.
What's his name?
Yuval Noah Harari.
And let's tell
Sapiens. What's his book? Sapiens and
the end of Sapiens or something.
Yeah.
But let's remember,
he's a lover of humanity, folks. Don't you forget it either.
he told us this back in 21.
Indeed.
In 20, and even back to 18.
He was writing his special books before then. We should have, if we had known, we could have just read his book and known what he was all about.
In 2019, he talked about, the way we can implement this great is we got to do it in the midst of a catastrophe.
Of course.
And what did he say? Well, let's just hear what he told us. I believe this was from either 2018 or 2019 at the World Economic Forum about, and keep in mind, Blackstone now owns DNA of billions of people. Let's hear what he has to say.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens, because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Now, why is data so important?
On the what?
Data.
The data.
All that special info we were talking
So
about.
what will the rulers of this world look like is what he said at the World Economic Forum. It will look like, and it will be run by the ones that hold the data.
They'll be giants in their own eyes.
What has this got to do with banks? Banks are data as well. These people had data. It's all about data. Listen to this.
It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers.
Listen.
We can hack human beings and other organisms.
We can hack human beings and other organisms.
Boldly proclaiming. There was no humility there.
None.
And this was years ago.
This was years ago. And then he says, when you can do that, watch what else you can do.
Now, what do you need in order to hack a human being?
What do you need?
You need two things.
2018.
You need a lot of computing power.
Got it?
And you need a lot of data.
A lot of data. And what kind of data do you think we need, Sandy?
Especially biometric data. But
what? Paul Begley just got on me. What? Are you serious? I mean, 2018.
Yep.
It will be ruled by the people who have the data. What is the two things you need? Massive computer power. We got it. But the one thing we didn't have that we got to get was got to find a way for the wealthy elite to get data. Specifically, he said, biometric
control
data.
of data might enable human elites to do something even more radical.
It's just so disturbing. I mean, there was already so much information about your personal preference, about your financial data. Now they've got your bio data.
Yeah. They literally can well, I don't want to go there because I know I'll get flagged, but there's a hypothesis that, what we just went through was also a part of re-engineering that data. But we've got to be careful.
Let's call it a data capture. What we just went through, forget the services, forget Ancestry, forget 23andMe. What we just went through, nobody wants to think about that. It's kind of inconvenient, but in a sense, we just went through a data capture.
Yep, and let's listen what happens when they capture that
Then
data.
just build digital dictatorships.
Here it
By
is.
hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it.
So once you can hack something, you can also re-engineer it.
I don't know if I even want to explore that. It's just
Unbelievable. It's
so
unbelievable.
disturbing to think about where that goes.
Unbelievable.
But there's that.
Yeah, there's that. And look, people are, oh, y'all talking about the World Economic Forum again. Oh, y'all talking about Klaus Schwab again. Oh, y'all talking about...
Well, we do because it's a real thing.
You need to.
This is happening.
This is happening.
Right now.
The narrative that we are living out right now. Do you remember it was just a few weeks ago, Sandy, we were on this show saying Agenda 2030 is 7 years away. Get ready for turbo speed.
Well, it's felt like turbo speed since really before last year, 2022 ended. But since this year has started, put your seatbelt on because it's like everything all the time from every direction.
His leader, Klaus Schwab, said at that same forum, and in many times since, you will own nothing and you will be happy.
Be happy.
And part of their plan is CDBC. Is that am I saying it right? CBDC.
Central Bank Digital Currency. Yeah.
Thank you. And that is exactly right. And that is they've got to move us away from a cashless society. Where have I ever heard that before? Oh, yeah, that's right. The Bible.
That book.
The Bible. You're talking about you'll never be able to buy or sell anything. The reason they want to get us away, it's all about data. The one that want to get us away from cash is because they want to monitor, ladies and gentlemen, every single transaction of your life.
Indeed.
So right now, if somebody cuts your grass, the kid down the street, you're trying to help him out, do a summer job and he cuts your grass, you give him, $20 bill, something like that, you give him cash. Well, they want to do away with that so that you are forced, which we're already doing it with Venmo and Cash App and all that. This is all programming us to get ready for that.
But come on, let's just talk about the yard sales, the grandma that gives money for Christmas.
Right.
Let's drill it all the way down to the panhandlers on the corner.
Yep.
Who take cash, who take coins,
It'd be useless.
whatever's dropped into their hat, into their basket.
Yep.
That's gone. There's no
Gone.
putting it under your mattress anymore.
This is real,
all
people.
All of those things are gone.
Gone.
It's done.
It's done. It's gone. It's done.
Completely trackable.
You buy a pack of gum, the government's going to know you bought a pack of gum.
Indeed.
And so the banks are all in on it too, because they all go to Davos at the World Economic Forum and they all sit there in their elites circles and they devise ways, how can we ultimately get control of this?
Control. We talk about it every week. You're under their thumb. It's control. It's the knowing. It's, we've talked about the beast system, the mark of the beast, and like you just said, no one can buy or sell.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, how can they ever do that? How would they be able? The technology, the mechanisms are in place now. It's
right.
there.
It's right.
They're just
already
waiting
there.
for the time and the moment to launch it.
Yeah.
There may be some different pieces of the puzzle that are not fully in place.
Yeah.
I believe their total mechanism of control is a little more than what's totally active now. But something that I became aware of probably 3 or 5 years ago is just how much technology is involved and is going to be involved.
Yeah.
Not just in the process of the B system, but probably somehow within our bodies. And you say, well, how can they put something in my body without me being aware of it? Well,
let's go back
I
to our
believe
friend.
they're doing things in our food. I believe they're spraying things in the sky. Is he going to talk about this?
No,
here?
nobody's going to talk about.
But there are ways that it can get into our bodies and we don't realize.
And this is what our friend, I'll say that facetiously, believes about what that really means for us. Everything that she's saying, y'all, it's not tinfoil hat. It is facts. It is happening. It is a part of an agenda
All
and
you
a plan.
have to do is look at the amount of towers and the talk of 5G and going to be 6G and probably something after that. Why do we need all of this?
Because we need faster internet.
Well, I'm telling you what.
I mean, ain't that what it all is about?
My phone has had more problems in the last year.
You're right on that.
So
the moment it went to 5G, the internet got worse.
So come
What
on.
happened? What happened?
We need to have thinking skills, critical thinking skills. We need to be able to connect the dots. We can't just walk around blindly.
All right, let's listen to this right here. I want y'all to hear this.
Humans are now hackable animals. The whole idea that humans have, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
It's over.
Free will, that's over.
Free will is over. This was said years ago. Free will is over.
And they really mean it.
They really do mean
And we're
it.
not there yet, but they believe we are firmly on the path to being there, to getting there.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I've got my free will because I've got the Holy Spirit inside of me. And as long as I've got the Holy Spirit inside of me, I've got my free will. But I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of these things that they say are coming, I can't deny it. They're here. Sure. And I mean, I think about, we're talking about the program that we already have with the cashless society. I buy some things on Facebook Marketplace and things like that sometimes, and I'll be talking back and forth with them, dealing, making the final price, and I'll be arranging a public place to meet them. And what I have found here lately, this is how we've been programmed. I will say, how do you prefer me to pay for this? Cash, or would you rather use me Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, whatever? I'm telling you, it's 75% now say, I'd rather you not give me cash. I'd rather you just Venmo me. I'd rather you just Cash App me.
Well, you must be doing a transaction $600 or less then.
That's true. yeah. But they're literally. I did buy a computer one time just recently that I did that, and as soon as I did it, PayPal popped up and said, you must report this to the IRS, and that had never happened because that is now in the system. That they're going to track you, they're going to tax you. And I'm not sitting here at YouTube, by the way, IRS and all this, trying to avoid my taxes. I'm not. I pay taxes on everything that comes in my life. I'm not trying to do that. Please understand, I'm not condoning anyone to not pay their taxes. I'm just saying.
But it is such a bummer that we've been trained, we've gotten so used to, and we love the convenience of using the cash apps.
Yeah, it is.
And then now,
it's convenient.
if it's over a certain amount of money,
got to report it. Which has already been taxed one time, by the way. If you bought a monitor from Walmart, you pay tax on it. But then if I sell that monitor to somebody down the road the next week because I don't like it and they won't return it, I got to pay taxes on it again when that person gives me the money. And that's the system that we're in, and that's the system of control. So, Sandy, what a night. Believe it or not, we already been here almost an hour. Can you believe that? It's incredible.
It seems like it's been 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're having so much fun. And the live chat's blowing up. I mean, they are just blowing up. They are having so much fun. I can't wait to go back and read all this. Yeah, that's right. Is he not a human? Does he think he is God? Well, Naomi, yes, he does.
What word did he use on this interview? He said it right when it started.
He said this whole idea of free will. But he also says this on another video that I don't have. He says, this God that you believe in that's up in the clouds and one day you're going to go up in the clouds. He literally says, we don't need your God and we don't need your clouds. We have our own God. We are our own God and we have our own clouds. We've made our own clouds. Yep. We call it Microsoft Cloud. We call it the IBM Cloud. We've got our own clouds and we are engineering people to become gods.
Well, he feels good about his station in life and his situation because when his when he, I don't know if I should say that.
Uh-oh, be careful.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. When he exhausts all of the earthly mechanisms to extend his life, as long when he's done all of his transplants.
I think a lot of people know what she's talking about, but we're not
going to say
blood
infusions and all of that stuff. He's just going to transcend. He's just going to have transcendency and live on forever in the computer.
That's what he thinks. Real quick, let's hit two things real fast, real quick, because we want to make sure people are aware of this.
We do need to talk about this.
China's everywhere. Everybody's talking about Russia. You need to stop worrying so much about Russia and start thinking about China, because one of the things that we talked about here is that Russia has mastered the hypersonic missile, and of which I doubt that we really don't have it, but America says we actually don't have that technology. But you got to understand something about hypersonic missiles. It is at least stated publicly that no one really has the ability to shoot them down. That they are when they're fired, they're going to hit their target.
Did Sandeo say that?
He did, and so did Paul. Paul Begley has said it many times.
Yeah, Paul Begley said that last week.
But I want you to see something that nobody's talking about. China has deployed what is known as the Invincible Hypersonic Missile to strike U.S. bases in the Pacific, overtakes Russia in missile tech. No one's talking about the fact that the most powerful, the longest range hypersonic missile now is not being used in Ukraine, is not in Russia, it's not in America, it is in China. And as we said last week, and we have said many times over the last few weeks, even our own government, Sandy, has said, by what year? Was it 25 or 24?
I believe it's 2025.
2025, that many of our military officials believe that we are going to be in a military conflict with China. So that's one item that I want everybody to know about and keep your eyes open. It's very serious. Wars and rumors of wars all over the place. And for those that are in the South, just another little thing here just to show you that's going on. And it's not a little thing, it's a big thing. For those that are on the coast or plan on going down there for spring break, I mean, all this kind of stuff, the reason I'm showing you, is they all have one thing in common. It's all the biggest in the history of the world.
Yeah, the biggest ever.
The biggest ever.
Ever.
A giant seaweed bloom so large it can be seen from outer space is headed towards Florida's Gulf Coast. It is 5,000 miles wide, Sandy, and twice the width of the United States, and it's believed to be the largest red tide in history.
And all of that sounds so daunting and like, what? But the problem is going to be when you roll up on the beach to have your spring break, maybe the end of this month or into April. This smells so horrible. You cannot hardly breathe. It will make you sick at your stomach. It's just horrible to be around.
And looky here, it can block intake valves for things like power plants.
And you know what I said to you when you said that to me a couple of hours ago? What did I say to you?
I don't remember. Say it again.
I said, wow, that might be a great cover story to disrupt the electricity coming from the power plant.
Yeah, we're sorry, guys. We're sorry that you don't have any power. It was that stinking red tide.
Even if it's not true.
Yeah. You're right. So these are items, and then that'll be the last news we cover tonight, because as we close, Sandy, we will always want to remind people that we are not agents of fear. No. We are not trying to
this is not fear porn, folks.
No,
we're trying to report what's actually in the news articles. Right. Not that we wholeheartedly believe them.
Exactly.
They surely, hopefully, there are elements of truth in there.
But we do try to only share things that we have sourced.
Yes.
Everything that we've shown you tonight, let it be known, we have sources for it. Go ahead.
Right. But there are things going on, and you don't need us to tell you that.
Right, exactly.
But we are believers.
Yes, we are.
We know who we have our faith and trust in.
Come on, preacher.
And you've got to be able to read or hear this and not fall apart.
Yeah. This is reality. You're right. Watch Woman of the Dragon. This is reality. And so is the sky. Exactly. Very, very, very. She's on your team there, Sandy.
Go Tiger Blood. Woo!
Yeah, exactly. So we want to remind you that we are here every Monday night. This show is growing. It's exploding. It's touching lives. Share the replay. Get as many people involved in the Big Picture family as possible. And if you really want to understand what's going on, because what's going on in the natural is not the big picture. The big picture is you need to know what the Word of God says is going to happen. And that's exactly what we're talking about every Sunday night as we break down verse by verse in the book of Revelation. And you can go back and watch the previous parts right now on my YouTube channel. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget that tomorrow night, I need you to make sure that you're on this one, because this one's going to be a big one, y'all.
This would be great.
This is going to be phenomenal. And then Friday night, we've got the great interview that's going to tell us about how God brought the fourth awakening here to our country.
I think it's going to be really special.
It is going to be special. Sandy, I love you. I'm so thankful that you are my co-host. She came ready for war, y'all. Y'all show some love. Show some love for the queen. She said, I'm ready for war. You tell them I'm ready for war. Any closing thoughts that you want to tell our viewers tonight?
I do believe we need to gear up. I think we need to gird up. We need to crank up those prayers. Like I said last week, you're going to hear some bad things. Can't let it affect you mentally to the point that you shut down.
Yep.
We got to be strong,
Yep.
not just for ourselves,
Right.
but for others.
Right.
God's counting on us
And let's
to show love and compassion to others, to lift them up, pull them up.
Yes.
And encourage them so that they can be strengthened.
And we need each other. So hit that subscribe button. Let's beat the algorithm. Let's hit the thumbs up. Let's share it.
Let's do it.
And let's be right back here next time, this same time next week, where we always remind you that we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake. God bless. See you next time.